And so the recording weirdness of this week continues. I uploaded Wednesday's segment on Tuesday night, and here I am on Wednesday afternoon, still yet to upload Wednesday's segment, but now recording Thursday's segment. I'm not going to have a whole lot of time on Thursday to record this, so I've got to continue pre-recording stuff like this. It should be about right by Friday, though. I'll be able to record Friday's segment on Friday and upload it the same day. But let's bowl on in here. Steelix and Rhydon, surprisingly not really that much. They weren't really very difficult, like at all. They took a little bit of a while to show up, but they were quite nice and decided to go straight into the Pokeball. I think on both occasions I needed to throw a few balls, but yeah, whatever. I'm not really going to fuss over it too much. Anyhow, I have to pick the team now that is going to go on into this next gym that I'm going to be challenging here. This team, like, by itself is actually pretty damn decent and is not even a terrible idea for me to take with me. I'm going to make one change, though. I'm going to take Ghost Trick out, and I'm going to put in $3. $3 is probably not going to hit anything for super effective damage. As a matter of fact, I don't think it'll actually hit anything for anything better than not very effective damage. But I'm not bringing Jaeger in here with me because he's weak to steel, and so I'm gonna go ahead and grab the light clay off him here, and I'm gonna give this thing to $3. I'm not too sure which screen I want to give to this thing though, because at the moment it's got light screen, which might be all right, but at the same time, where did that item go? Oh, there it is. Okay, I guess I don't even need to take the light clay away from Jaeger. I might as well give him the other one. Give me just 1 second. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so that's out of the way. I think that's the only change I'm going to make. Rampart is weak to steel, but it's got solid rock, so it might be able to tank a hit, and it's got super effective moves against steel anyway. Dick Kick 'em, fighting moves. It's got Blaze Kick as well if it wants a surefire hit. Mitt Roast will be pretty good. Quad resistant to steel, actually. Illison, thing with Illison is that it's probably not going to hit steel types really that hard anyway, but I've gone with it over Spearmint because Spearmint, being a nice type, does have that steel weakness, and here Illison doesn't. Plus there's always the chance that I'll run into stuff like opposing Bronzongs and Metagrossers, and this thing does have Night Slash, which can hit those super effectively, so that I think will work out pretty well. And in case there's any like steel grounds or steel rocks, Tidal can hit that super effectively. Leafeon can at the very least hit it neutral with like a boosted Leaf Blade and do some damage. I think $3 is literally just there to support. Again, not too sure which thing I want to go with here, because I'll have a look at let's have a look at $3 moveset for right now. Gyro Ball and Zen Headbutt. I could probably get rid of one of those attacking moves anyway, just because I feel like Hypnosis could still be useful, but it's also really inaccurate. And I also do have access to the move relearner back in Pastoria City, so I'd like to put Reflect on this thing because it's got the Light Clay. I'd like to get full use out of that, and I think that might come in handy at some point. So where is my Reflect? It's 33, isn't it? Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to put on Reflect, and I don't have any other stat moves except for Will-O-Wisp. I think Will-O-Wisp will do the trick. So I think I am just going to get rid of Hypnosis here. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get that back. If I can't, I'll be slightly sad. Nah, I should be right. I think it's on the level at move pool. Let me just double check before I make that change. Bronzong has Hypnosis in its level up move pool. Okay, cool. We're getting rid of Hypnosis. I don't think Hypnosis will be that useful. I think if I want to put a status onto it, anything, then I'll just burn it. I imagine a lot of the steel types in the gym will be physical attackers anyway, so I think Burner's just going to be a lot more useful here. Alright, so here we go. We've gone and had a chat with Byron last time. We've driven him back to the gym, and we have this. Just a whole bunch of elevators and shit. I got a bit of a laugh when Jish went through this gym and could not, to save his life, navigate his way through this gym. It was kind of hilarious. I feel somewhat bad for him, but it's like I'm the type of person who gets an absolute laugh out of, for example, like the end of one of his crystal segments when he went to get the Tyrogue off the Karate King, and he had a full party and he didn't realize until it was too late, and just his response to that was probably the most hilarious thing ever. Okay, I think Dick Kickham will make for a solid lead for this first dude. One of the other absolute crackers is when he somehow managed to lose a race during the Nuts and Bolts LP, and then somehow, because his time was still better than the I think it was better than the TT time, he still got the trophy out of it, even though he lost the race entirely. I thought that was rather hilarious. I think just the response, he was basically destroying the race up until like the very last corner where he screwed up. Somebody passed him, and then right as he turned around the corner, there was the exit to the race. So he just kind of got screwed out of there at the last minute. That came really bloody close to knocking me out. And here I am, like, thinking I don't really want to use Blaze Kick. I keep forgetting Blaze Kick has 100 accuracy in this hack. It is actually a really good move. Now load, there's a nice handy level up. So yeah, something like our Tidal would have been good against that Steelix as well. Might have been better than a Deck Kickham anyway, but just sort of roll around like this. I want to see how effective 3 can be against somebody. If I come across any Steel Rock types, then I could probably at the very least Gyro Ball them, but because most Steel types are going to be slow as shit, I don't really expect Gyro Ball to be able to do a whole lot. I mean, even against Magnemite, even if Magnemite has some kind of a speed, it's quad resistant to Steel, so I'm going to see how much damage the Zen Headbutt's going to do, because if $3 can get an extra level or two before the gym leader, then that's going to be a nice little bonus to have. It might not even be a bad idea just to give the $3 the experience share, or like the lucky egg, and then just do a bait and switch thing. Do I want to continue with the semi-mirror match? I do not want to continue with the semi-mirror match. I'm going to go in with Illison and just smash it with a Night Slash. Seems like he's got like low-level mons like Aron and stuff like that, like unevolved things, so I guess 3 can probably come back in and give this a bit of a smashing. It outspeeds as well, so Gyro Ball probably wasn't going to do much anyway. Shieldon, I feel like, is probably even slower, so I guess we're switching in something just to give it some screen time, so Tidal, you can surf that thing death. And then Beldum. I'll feed you to Rampart, how's that sound? Oh boy, it actually tanked Hammer Arm, that kind of sucked. But oh well. Yeah. No, let me Earthquake. There you go. It's interesting how it used Lock On and then he switched it out, thereby rendering that first turn completely useless. I don't need to heal right now. I will give whatchamacallit that experience share if I can find it, because I don't really see it doing well against any of the Pokemon in this gym anyway, and so I think the only reason I want to give this thing levels is so it's a little bit more resilient when we get to the gym leader. Okay, I think we might be going the right way here. Let me actually just check that for a sec. Okay, that's completely dead end. That might take me somewhere, and that might take me somewhere. Okay. I'll start with this direction though, because I know that there's a trainer here, and if this leads to just a dead end, then I've at least got the trainer out of the way. So bring up Met Roast, he's the only one that hasn't seen any screen time so far. I wish I had something to talk about. I can't actually remember if I ever talked about what I did for work like a couple of years back. It's kind of a weird story, like, that takes place over the course of about 6 months, but I don't know. I could go on a tangent about it, but I don't know, I'm just not really in the mood, I guess. So you get to have boring commentary because I couldn't be asked actually coming up with interesting commentary. I suppose I could go on a bit of a tangent about Crystal Clear. I don't really need to, but it is something I feel like I should probably do just for the sake of posterity or completion or whatever. So I might as well talk a little bit about that while I'm trying to work out what the correct direction for me to go in is here. Hang on, is that... Okay, so if I went up that next one, it would take me there, which would just take me back down to the same spot. So this is how I progress. So if you haven't seen my Crystal Clear LP, it's probably a minority sort of thing because it is the most popular LP on my channel. But if you haven't seen Crystal Clear, it's a ROM hack of Pokemon Crystal. The official title actually doesn't include Pokemon in it. I think it's just some kind of an attempt to avoid getting C&D'd or whatever, which is fine. I'm not going to be one to judge. I like how this dude has an Napoleon, by the way. And the premise of the ROM hack is that it takes the world of Pokemon Crystal and turns it open world. And so the way that this functions is you can start in either Johto or Kanto. You have one of, I think as of the latest release, about 30 different starters to pick from. And those range anywhere from regular starters to baby Pokemon to just a bunch of random, like, other Pokemon that some people kind of like, some people, eh. And then there's like a set of hard ones, like you can start the game with a Smeargle, you can start the game with a Shuckle, or you can even start the game with an Unknown. So if you wanted to play like a hard mode of that sort of thing, then you could go with that, and it would be kind of interesting. Oh, good, Rock Slide. Well, he couldn't have hit me with Earthquake, because, you know... Oh boy. Blows the overheat, and then has to deal with a Sizzle. And that's fine. -2 special attack, but Sizzle's special defense is not really that great, plus it's quite weak to fire. So that's pretty good. And so the way that the open world thing works is that the majority of the trainers in the overworld and in the gyms and stuff like that, they scale to the number of badges that you have. So if you don't have any badges, then all of the overworld trainers are going to have like level 3s and level 4s. But if you have 8 badges, then they probably have something, they probably have teams around about like level 30 something. And so that's a really nice way you can like save a bunch of trainers in certain routes to train on them when they are, like when you really need a nice boost of experience before going into a new gym. It also implements a completely unique Elite Four made of basically characters that are meant to be avatars of people in real life who had something to do with the development of the game. An example of that being the League Champion, who is literally just the dude who developed the game pretty much by himself. His name is Sharkslayer. And there's also I think there's also a round 2, like you can do the first round and then you get a rematched version of the Elite Four with more powerful teams and stuff like that. I think the only real error that I feel exists with that first round of the Elite Four is that it's quite a step up in level in comparison to the 8th gym leader, because the 8th gym leader is around about what you'd expect their levels to be in, like like when you go to Clair's gym, you know, there's going to be a bunch of like mid to late 30s, and then Clair's ace is going to be like level 40. That's basically what you can expect to see from the 8th gym leader that you fight in Crystal Clear. And then the Elite Four for the first round will go as high as like 65 to 70. So it's a bit, it's a bit of a step up, but I decided to be a complete sucker for punishment and decided to grind off with wild Pokemon so that I was able to do the first round of the Elite Four after knocking over 8 badges and then going after the second set of 8 afterwards. And I did a bit of a thing with that because I actually used 2 separate teams of 6, so I ended up using 12 Pokemon in total throughout the playthrough, but not in the same way that I'm using 12 Pokemon here, where it's just sort of rotating in accordance to how long it's been since they've had any screen time and that sort of stuff, and what's good against certain gyms and whatnot. Here I had a team of 6 for the first 8 gym badges, and then I had a team of 6 for the second set of gym badges. And so I'm going to talk about my team here. Hopefully I've got enough time to go through all 12. But I'll start with the starter that I picked, and I actually went with Seal. That was one of the starters that you could go with. And I went with Seal in particular because... Oh, geez, I went the wrong way there. I went with Steel in particular because it actually comes with Surf at the start of the game. And one of the other little features about it is that HMs are no longer restricted to the number of badges that you've got. So getting access to Surf right at the word go means I have immediate access to like the bodies of water, and so I have a greater access to the regions and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I named it AdventFwd. It stuck with the team for the entirety of the playthrough, technically. It was in the first half, but I think it did make a comeback towards the end of the playthrough. But I named it AdventFwd as a reference to a dugong that I think either Jess or Joel used, named Advent Back, which I think itself was a reference to like a YouTube poop that said like Free Willy 2 The Adventure Home and Free Willy 3 The Adventure Home. And so I think he like made a reference to that by calling a dugong Advent Back, and so I just went the opposite direction. I just named it AdventFwd. Let me actually just take the moment to bring up the team here. Surprised the emulator's not like pausing itself here. Just bear with me for one moment. Okay, so the next one in order I think was the last of the original team of 6 that I had gotten, but it's next in order, so I'll talk about that a little bit. I used a pseudo widow, which can be found in one of 2 different places. I think you need the squirt bottle, and so I think I was planning on using pseudo widow for a bit of a while before I got up to that point, and that's why I went after Whitney's gym first, so I could knock that over and get the squirt bottle immediately. From there I had to go back to Ilex Forest, or I could have gone over to Viridian Forest. You can find a pseudo widow there as well, and it's basically just the same old shtick. You just use the squirt bottle on it, you can encounter it, and you can catch it. And so I caught the pseudo widow, and I named it Conifaux, which is a combination between Conifaux, which is a type of tree, not the type of tree that pseudo widow impersonates, mind you, but it kind of fits the bill, and faux, which basically means fake. It's also sort of a slight reference to the bonsai that just used in his baby only team on his Platinum LP, which he named Foliage, which is basically just faux again, but with foliage, so like some kind of like a plant life type thing. And Conifaux was actually pretty lucky, if my memory serves me correctly, because he ended up getting Hidden Power Fighting, and so that ended up sticking on his team for the longest time. They basically gave him a Quick Claw and a Curse setup, so that he was slow anyway, so he probably wasn't getting outsped anyway. But in this regard, I could get the Quick Claw, ignore that speed difference, and then I just have some good physical moves to head out with, and so that worked out pretty well. I don't know why I sent in titles for this, by the way, knowing that Marwile is part fairy, but whatever. I was probably planning on healing anyway once I got through all the trainers, so I guess I can't really fault myself too much, besides being too stupid to realise that Marwile is not a good matchup for title. Ellison, yeah. Just Leaf Blade. Okay, no, never mind. Okay, what was the next team member in line? Yeah, it was a Heracross. I used one of these in, what was the playthrough? Crystal Clair. No, Crystal Kaizo. That's the one. Yeah, that piece of shit. Okay. That's going to be trash form word madam for the... I'm pretty sure. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, this Heracross did about what you'd expect from a Heracross. It's a pretty good Pokemon, has always been since it was introduced, as basically a replacement for Pinsir. Pinsir was originally planned that Pinsir was going to get an evolution alongside Scyther, but that just didn't happen. And so I think, is that the last trainer? Yeah, it's the last trainer. Okay, I think there's a quick way to get back if I go in this direction, because I don't want to be fighting Byron yet, obviously. I'm missing 2 of my team members. But he just had a whole bunch of physical moves. He had, like, Mega Horn. I think he had Reversal as his fighting move, and then, like, Earthquake and a Rock move, so that was pretty good. I then used a Hypno, which I named Slumbork. Oh yeah, the Heracross's name was Stinger. Couldn't really come up with much better, so that's all I have to say about that. The Hypno I named Slumbork, because anything with Bork in it is inherently just better. And so I just took Bork and combined it with Slumber, because Hypno is known for putting opposition to sleep. So yeah, that's Slumbork. He was nice and bulky. Actually hit a bit harder than you might expect for a Hypno. Next was a Murkrow. I don't know why I went with the Murkrow, but it actually worked out surprisingly well. This one, I continued a trend that started with the Honchkrow I used many years ago, which I named after Blackwing Sirocco the Dawn. This Murkrow was named after another Blackwing monster. On this occasion, it was Calima the Haze, which actually kind of made sense because I think I had Haze on this thing's moveset for quite a while, or at least at some point when I caught it initially. And then lastly, I managed to get myself a shiny Cleffa out of the odd egg, and I decided to go with an inside joke for that one in reference to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals that I sometimes participate in, and the name I gave to that was Salt Fairy. Is this? Okay, that doesn't lead you anywhere. And Salt Fairy is basically there just to be like, use Protect, Scout out, and if it isn't like too much of a threat to Salt Fairy, then it's probably got something like Return or Thunderbolt to use. That's pretty cool. And so that was the team of 6 that got me through the first 8 badges. I brought it back together when I was doing a bunch of gym leader rematches. I did all that in one segment, and basically I had one team for the first set of 8 and then one team for the second set of 8. So when I did the rematches, I used the opposing teams. So I went in reverse order, did the last 8 gyms first with the first team, and then did the first 8 gyms of the playthrough last with my second set of 6, which I'll go on a bit of a tangent about once I've won this gym fight, because I don't have the time now. How do I want to lead with? Do I actually want to lead with $3? $3 might not be a bad lead here, just to get the screens up early, I guess. We'll go ahead and throw a save state here, and let's hope this does not go down horrendously, and before he has like a heat ran. It's been a while since I've actually fought Byron, but I'm pretty sure he's got like, he should have something like Shieldon. I kind of expected Bronzong, which is kind of cool because we've got a bit of a mirror match early on, but it's not going to do a whole lot to either of us, honestly, because the plan here is for me to just basically put up screens, and he's going to put up screens as well. This is going to be a fun romp, isn't it? Good God. At least my Gyro Ball is going to be better than his, because I'm just slower. I'm willing to bet as well that he's got a light clay on that thing. If I had something with Thief on it, then that'd be nice. Okay, so now that I've got screens set up, and so does he, might not have even been a bad idea to go in with something else and try to kill this Bronzong and just not allow him to set up his screens. Let's try Illison. I don't know what this Bronzong plans on doing attacking-wise, though. So that's going to be a bit of a question. Okay, so he's going to put up rocks. I guess this guy's just basically the stereotypical lead. Let me get some sword stances up and hopefully not die to whatever this thing has to throw at me. Alright. That's a pretty cool move setup, actually. Dual screens plus rocks, and then Gyro Ball is the attacking option. I'd like to try to avoid sweeping with Illison. Of course. My mistake. Okay, no, but we're going to restart. I knew that this was going to happen. I forgot to put the light clay back onto my Bronzong, and so my screens did not last as long as his did. And I'm not going to leave with mine anyway. I'm just going to... I'm not even sure what ability that thing has. If it's got heat proof, then overheat might not actually do that much damage. But if it does have heat proof, I could probably kill it with Earthquake. I'm going to start with Mitrost anyway. Let's give this another go, because that was kind of shite. I'd have been happy to roll with it, but I really wanted the light clay on $3 there, so we'll give this another shot. Phone going off, I guess. Fair enough. Alright, overheat. How much damage is this going to do? That's a knockout. Right. So there goes those screens. I might actually send in my own Bronzong here, depending on what he wants to follow up with. What's this follow up with here? Okay, Steelix. Okay, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. It might have crunch, which makes me think that I should probably go with reflect first up, so I'm a bit more resilient against that. But I've got levitate, so earthquake's not hitting this thing. So I'll start off with a reflect. Okay, stone edge, not a big deal. Yeah, that's not a big deal at all. So if it's going to keep spamming stone edge, I should probably send in something that's resistant to that. And so I'm thinking maybe... I'm not too sure if ground resists rock. I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, it should do. So I think now that I've got my screen set up, I'll go in with Rampart. Steelix can very easily miss with Stone Edge as well. I'm not complaining too much about that. Let's get in an Earthquake. And before this thing has a Sugar Berry. Okay, no Sugar Berry. I don't expect to get a knockout though. Yeah, I didn't think so. Rampart's a pretty hard-hitting beast of a thing, but it is dealing with quite a considerable physical defense. I think Steelix's physical defense is like 200. So it is certainly quite resilient. And I wasn't too sure how well Tidal could tank a Stone Edge there, which is why I decided to go with Rampart. Because even that Earthquake didn't do much. Combination of Reflect plus Solid Rock. Rampart is basically just a massive wall that he can't really get past. Byron, on the other hand, is just giving me stuff. He's basically just feeding me stuff at this stage, because Fortress is going to go down in one hit to overheat unless this thing's got a Focus Sash. This thing might have a Focus Sash. Might want to just blow up immediately, but we're going to see how this plays out. Okay. That did pretty good. I'm also counteracting the special attack drops by just pulling that roast out immediately once he's done getting a KO. So there's Aggron. I've still got my screens up, so let's give Dick Kickham a shout here. I might even take the opportunity to get up a bulk up here, because I've never actually used bulk up on this thing since I put it on. I'd like to give this thing a bit of a tilt. Reflect plus a nice little boost to defense there means Head Smash will probably still do a lot of damage, I imagine. Oh wow, that actually didn't do anywhere near as much as I was expecting. Okay, so if Hike Jump Kick misses, Dick Kickham is probably getting itself killed by the recoil. Because it's +1 attack and quite effective here. Let's go for it. Awesome. Right on target. Will this Aggron still survive? Oh, just barely. Because Focus Sash. Damn it. Alright. Oh, I got the flinch hacks as well. That's awesome. He's going to heal it this turn. Do I want to go for another bulk up? I think I do want to go for another bulk up because my reflect is worn off. So I'll take the opportunity to get a bulk up. See what Mark Punch does. And then maybe move on from there. See how that goes. Because I don't want to, like... I don't want to push my luck too much with this high jump kick. And +2 of physical attack should still mean Mark Punch does a decent amount of damage. Yeah, like that's a surefire 2-hit KO. Wow. Wow. That's like, that wasn't even a critical to boot. If that was a critical, then I'd be quite glad that the RNG came in a pinch there. But no, that wasn't even a critical. That was just outright strength. So then it just leaves Bastion on. That might be his last. I'm not too sure if it is his last. Let me go in with $3 again. Put my screens back up. See how that goes down. Yeah, he's still got one more left. Okay, reflect. Wow. For being just a massive, like, shield type thing, I'm surprised that Bastion outspeeds me here. That levitate's coming in really clutch here, because as annoying as the flinch hacks is, he is not really able to use Earthquake on me. So, I'm quite happy with that. I guess bring him with the light screen. Lord knows what he's going to be following up with here. Not too sure how I feel about him spamming Protect though. because that could result in a few wasted screen turns. Yeah, Earthquake. And of course, yeah, gotta continue on with your Protect crap. This should do a decent chunk of damage. Again, Bastiodon's got a great deal of physical defense, but it is quad weak to Earthquake. So unless it was holding a Shockberry, which I know it's certainly not, that Bastiodon had its ass handed to it right bloody quick. So I will see what Byron's last team member is here. It's a Magnezone. Flash Cannon might do a decent chunk, but I do have Light Screen up, so I think it's just a matter of bowling in with another Earthquake. This is probably the one with Shockberry, if I had to be honest. Oh, Earth. Hello. Quick Claw. Coming in clutch. And no Shockberry. I'm actually surprised. For the number of his team members that are quad weak to ground, I'm surprised none of them were holding a Shockberry. So, yeah, that's game. Now, does this guy give me... I think this guy might give me Flash Cannon. So, yeah, there's the badge. But do you give me Flash Cannon? Or is that somewhere else? Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that's Flash Cannon. That might be a pretty useful move on one of my special attackers. So anyhow, before I wrap up the segment, I want to go through the second team that I used in this, Crystal Clear. But to preface this, I wanted to point out something here. There's a bonus area, like, between Cerulean City and Bill's house. I'm just going to ignore this, by the way. And, he's a bit sure of himself, isn't he? But there's a random house, and if you have enough badges, or I think if you just need the Cascade badge, but there's a dude that'll give you this weird blue egg, and that blue egg hatches into a shiny Ditto, which is very useful if you want to breed shinies, because in Generation 2, it's the Pokemon's DVs that determine whether a Pokemon is shiny or not. And if you breed the shiny Ditto with something, you have about a 1 in 64 shot at getting a shiny. And so I decided to take advantage of that and breed a team of 6 shinies to take me through the second half of the playthrough. And so, as a result, I ended up with a Slowking. I could have gone with Slowbro, but I kind of like Slowking better. I named this thing Zuno, after a minor character from Dragon Ball Super who is basically said to know literally everything that has happened throughout the entirety of the 7th universe's existence, which makes sense because Slowking is a bit of an intelligent being. It's a bit like that one episode of SpongeBob where Patrick just for some reason has his dumbass brain swapped with a hyper-intelligent brain and he just becomes completely different, which is, that was quite a good episode, that one. Next I used an Ampharos. I'd used an Ampharos once before, which I named Sean, but here I couldn't really come up with any other like sheep-like name, so I went with a Twitch emote name. I named it EleGiggle, just because Ellie sounds a bit like electric. And this one actually had a light screen sort of gimmick as well, and I think it was my Thunderwave user, which was pretty cool. Next I used a shiny Scizor, which is all green and shit, the color that Scizor was originally meant to be in the Gold Silver beta. This one I named CutmanMike, after a guy who is well known for some of his Doom mods. He brought the Ghouls Forest series into existence, which the premise is you're just in the middle of this really dark forest and there is a ghoul that's coming to get you and he will probably kill you in one hit. Also, they're very jump scary. They're just scary. Yeah, they are scary. Like they use jump scares, but they are freaky as fuck. I've certainly been jumped out of my seat a number of times by those fucking things. He's also well known for making the Mega Man 8-bit Deathmatch mod, which is basically just the 8-bit Mega Man games in a Doom Deathmatch setting. I've strongly considered showing that to Jesh to see if he was like kind of interested in it, because I know he's not like huge on FPSs, but something like Mega Man based like that might kind of pique his interest. Just to address what's going on the screen there, that was a galactic bomb that just went off over at Lake Valor. It's, yeah, it's Team Galactic. Get to deal with more of their crap before I take a break, go and get the 7th gym, and then finish up that storyline. That's not going to be for quite a while yet. But moving on to my last 3 team members, I had a... yeah, that never really happens. I used a shiny Weezing, which I called Chum, because when I found my shiny Weezing in Crystal Kaizo, my immediate response was just "Hello, Chum," and so the Chum name just kind of stuck. I rolled with it and named this hatchling coughing Chum. Also, in the segment where I was hatching all this stuff, I threw in a little sound clip of Chugga Conroy's reaction to him finding his shiny coughing, just as a shits and gigs type thing. I felt like it was kind of obligatory, like how I had the Professor Oak sounds and stuff like that in the other segment when I was having a chat with him. Chum was basically just a what the fuck boom type thing with a little bit of type coverage. That was pretty much about it. And then I used an Umbreon. Umbreon looks really, really nice as a shiny. It's the bits where it's normally yellow are blue on this shiny, and so it looks really, really cool. I named it Oscuro, and that name came from the main antagonist of the Rise of the Triad game, which was an old classic 90s FPS. It was remade in 2013, which makes me feel odd because I'm pretty sure it's like 6 years tomorrow when it went up. And Oscuro was basically a toxic staller. Bit of a grimy setup there, but couldn't really come up with much else. And then lastly, I used a shiny Miltank. It's all blue and shit. A lot of the shinies I used here were actually had a bit of a shade of blue about them. And for the Miltank, couldn't really come up with much in terms of a nickname, so I went with a South Park reference and called it Cow Days. I was not actually aware until much later that there was an episode of South Park called Cow Days. I just named it after the Cow Days race from South Park Rally, the premise of which was literally just you're in just a sort of arena-style track there. Everybody's infected with mad cow disease, a deadly and somehow contagious strain of mad cow disease, and you need to find the antidote and hold it for long enough, and if you do, then you win the race, you are cured of the disease, and everybody else dies. So it's about what you'd expect from South Park, wouldn't it? That's pretty good. Okay, so I've been standing here trying to pad out this video with my Crystal Clair team, and I think we're about done with that, which makes me sad because we're at about 38 minutes. So yeah, apologies for another lengthy segment than usual. Hopefully next time it won't be quite as terrible. I think we've got to go to Lake Valor next, so we'll probably be doing that. I don't think there's any other things we need to do between now and then. Nah, not really. I was going to talk about strength, but I'll do that at the start of the next segment because I'll probably have Suricate with me for that. Alright, I'm going to stop rambling. End of recording.